my name is Melody, and I am starting a new quest. I've got a podcast, just to let you know, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm starting a new quest on YouTube, trying to figure out what to do with my YouTube channel, and I've been looking at a lot of reaction videos, mainly from Europeans, Brits, and I think there's a guy in near Spain, Portugal, and they do reaction videos to American stuff. And so I've been fascinated by watching those reactions because I never thought about it before. I never thought about America as being fascinating to other people. I'm fascinated by other countries, but I never thought that was returned. So I thought that it would be kind of fun to start a video series about life in America. One thing that the videos I've been slightly disappointed in that they show is all these people that come to America or that do videos in America. They go to high tourism places, very nice places, and they stay in very nice hotels and very nice homes, and they go to very nice restaurants and sometimes hometown restaurants, but they're all places that tourists goes and some of the locals go, but it doesn't really get a grasp of everyday life in America, because those are the places we want to show off when people come here, because they are truly the best in America. So I want to do something that answers some questions about what life is like daily in America. And plus, I know some of those videos have stirred up questions among foreigners that to America about things they see in a video that they're like, what's that? Or, they don't understand what they see. So I want to explain some of those as we go along too. Just explain a little bit about where I live and how life is here. I live in Northwest Georgia, about 45 miles north of Atlanta, in a place called Uharli, and that's an Indian word. We are next to a bigger city called Cartersville, but it's even not that big. I'm thinking 20,000 people in Cartersville, but it's the next biggest city to us. We are considered a bedroom community of Atlanta, even though we don't want to say that. None of us here really necessarily like Atlanta very much. Atlanta itself is very tiny. Well, it's not tiny, but it's small. But it has a huge metropolitan area because all the cities and counties around it have grown, and they're still run by the cities and counties around it, not Atlanta. But it's part of the metropolitan area. It's just what we call urban sprawl. Houses and businesses and stuff kind of sprawl out to a big metropolis. Well, there's a pretty big difference between where we are and Atlanta. A good bit of highway. I'll take you on there sometime. But even so, we are still considered metropolitan Atlanta. But we are 45 miles away. We're actually pretty much equal distance between Atlanta and Chattanooga. We could get on the interstate and go north for about an hour and a half and go to Chattanooga, or we can go south about an hour and a half and go to Atlanta. Most of the time we choose Chattanooga for the simple fact of traffic. Traffic in Atlanta is terrible, and we'll talk about that on another video. But right now, I kind of want to just show you my neighborhood. I know there were some questions about houses and stuff, so let's take a little walk around the neighborhood, and I'll show you what life is here. Okay, this is the street in front of my house, and this is our neighborhood. This is what I call a pretty standard neighborhood, so this is good for this kind of video. This house somebody is just moving into, so it looks really fresh. It's been redone. I personally don't like some of the changes they made because the previous owner, that was our friend, he had a wonderful brick stairs there and some other things, but it looks pretty good. And then we've got another house up here. You'll notice, I'll go here to this house. These houses are made of wood. Everybody thinks every house in America is made of wood. It's not. These houses were built around the late 80s and early 90s. That time, most houses were made of wood because they were cheaper and more affordable. However, my mother's house, the house that I grew up in, was made of brick. That was built in 1969. The houses built post-World War II, the 50s and 60s and early 70s, were made of brick. That was the standard. So if you get an older home, you're going to get brick. And I'll show you some of those on another video because they're still around. This is another house. It's typical. The floor plan is pretty much the same. these aren't cookie cutter homes. We have a thing called cookie cutter homes where they make the exact same house and the exact same lot 100 times. These aren't exactly cookie cutter homes. These are just standard homes. They have about 3 different plans, and the garage is underneath. You go up and you have the living room and kitchen on one floor. Then you go up about 8 stairs and you have the bedrooms on the next floor. Most of these homes have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a double garage, a kitchen, and a living room. They do not have a separate dining room, which is personally my pet peeve. And we're going to talk about mailboxes in a little bit, so pay attention to the mailboxes. And then this is another home. You are going to notice here, and particularly when I take you into downtown Cartersville, that there are a lot of American flags up. This is this time of year, and I'll talk about more when we see more of them in Cartersville in the next video. The next couple of videos. But there are a lot of American flags up, particularly in the summer. We have an American flag. We have not put it up. Ours actually needs to be replaced. So we are not putting up our flag until we replace it. Hopefully we can get a new one this weekend, because I do want it up before the 4th, or a couple weeks before the 4th. And so that's our plan, but we do not have one up now. We're about coming up to our yard. I was hesitant to show our yard, but we did get the grass cut, so I will show it. The one thing to know, this being Georgia, this is June 24th, I believe, and it is 7 o'clock in the evening right now, and I just checked the temperature, and it's 92 degrees. It was close to 100 today. It is humid right now, which is a little bit unusual for this part of the world. That's my house. Please don't say anything. It needs a lot of repairs. We've had a tough few years, so we have not done repairs like we should. We've been working on inside stuff like plumbing and air conditioning. Again, another video, because their cost of repairs is something to talk about if you plan on owning a home in America. But I'm pretty proud of this yard, though. We've lived here for 23 years. I've lived here for 25 years, and I met my husband, and we've been married for 23. So this is the yard. You can see it's pretty big. I'm going to show you the backyard in a bit, and you will be amazed at that. All of these bushes and trees either I planted or my husband and I planted. This one is one of my favorite. It's a river birch. We planted that when we first got married. So that tree is 23 years old. And then I planted this one. It was a volunteer. It's a sweet gum. And then these are all crepe myrtles. I don't know if you have crepe myrtles where you are, but in the South, they're a big deal. I need to trim them. I didn't trim them. You're supposed to trim them back in the fall. I didn't trim them this year. Those are white, and these are supposed to be red, but they are not blooming. These houses are the same. These houses are all ranch like mine. My house is a ranch on a slab, and it does not have a basement. None of these houses here have basements. Some of them don't have garages. Some of them have carports. Like that house across the street has a carport. But most of them do have garages, double garages. I'm going to go up the street a bit. This is the main road that comes to our subdivision. And there's a couple of things about this that's interesting. First of all, that field you see across is a farm. They have horses and they have cows. Most of the time, the animals are out. Sometimes we hear cows moo in the morning. For a while, they were going to put the property up for sale and see if they could sell it, but I'm so glad they didn't, because I love that land, and I would hate to see a subdivision go up there. Then we have traffic. We have a school to the right. We have 2 schools to the right, and they're on both sides of the road. And so we have a lot of traffic, which makes it rather challenging to turn. And I'm going to show that one day when I take you more up the road, and you'll see how problematic it is to turn. We do have a sidewalk here, which is nice. Kids could walk to school or walk home from band practice or whatever. So that's nice. Now I'm going to take you to the other end of the neighborhood to show you what those homes look like. They're quite a bit different from these. These are middle class American homes. They're what you call starter homes. Most people buy these kind of homes as their first home, then after a few years they move up into another home. We never really have the opportunity to do that, but that's what most people do. Now let's go to the other end of the neighborhood. The walk is pleasant enough. You find some flowers along the way. These are black-eyed Susans, and I've been walking about 10 minutes and I'm almost there. This neighborhood, our neighborhood, goes around in a circle. So if you continue the walking way I was walking at first, you'd come out here. And then also, there is a circle that goes this way. It's a cul-de-sac. And it goes that way, and you have more houses there. But we are going this way to Shaw Woods. Welcome to Shaw Woods. Now there's a long history about this development and ours. A sordid one. We did not want them back here. They built back here about 20 years ago. And I fought them. We fought them. Our neighborhood fought them. Fought them off for about 2 years. And then they got back here anyway. It's a swim, tennis kind of community. I don't know if they have, I think they have tennis. They have 2 pools, 2 clubhouses. They won't let us use any of those. They're very strict. We even offered to pay them to use them, and they said they didn't want our people, our type of people, in their pools. But I'm going to show you the houses because the houses are lovely. That's one of them. The only thing about these houses that I don't like is too many steps going up the front. If you have older people or dealing with children, it would be very hard, get back on the sidewalk before they stop me, to have a house like this, in my opinion. But I do love the wraparound porches. Now these houses are considered upper income. They're not overly wealthy, but they are upper income homes. They start out probably around $300,000. Now I'm guessing they go for about $500,000. And if you look closely on that one, you'll see they have their patriotic banners up. Again, very prominent in this part of the world to have your flags. And they have a flag up too. And if you look closely enough, I think that's a Georgia Bulldog on the porch. Yeah, it is. It's a Georgia Bulldog, the American flag, and American banners. Can't get much more American than that. And also there are some banners. I don't know if you can see them across the street there. So as it gets closer to the 4th, there's going to be a lot more of that coming up. I'm going to turn around. I want to talk to you a little bit about HOAs though. Let's turn around and head back. Oh, he's got a Georgia Bulldog mailbox too. This community is in an HOA, and there's a lot of green space excuse me, between there and here. This is land actually owned by Georgia Power for the utilities. This is governed by what they call a homeowners association, which is HOA. And the HOA is very strict. They tell you what color you can paint your house. You only have a few colors you can paint your house. They tell you what kind of grass you can plant. As you can see, show you this grass is very different from the grass in our neighborhood. This is Bermuda. Ours is probably fescue. And then they also have about how many weeds, if you have so many weeds in your flower bed, they'll get on to you about that. My mother-in-law lived in an HOA community, and they were constantly getting onto her about the border she used on her flower bed. She had to replace that. About her front flower bed, the lawn decor, they didn't like it. She had to remove that. And they would say, oh, you got weeds growing up in your mulch. And it wasn't even that many. It was just a handful of weeds. They said they would fine her if she didn't take care of that. And they do issue fines. Some pretty big ones too. So up to like $500. And I had another friend of mine live in an HOA community, and they actually seized her bank account, their personal bank account, for a fine for HOA that they didn't pay, and they were fighting. So that's HOA. We don't live in an HOA neighborhood. We live in just a straight neighborhood. We are under the city code enforcement, and it's not as restrictive. All they care about is health and sanitation. You can't have cars in your lawn on cinder blocks, for instance, that you're working on. You can't have a lot of junk in your front yard. You have to deal with your trash and take your trash. You have to keep your house pretty, well, I call it functioning and all that kind of stuff. So as long as it's functional, not junky, you don't have trash or food debris or something that's unsanitary, they're fine with that. Okay, everyone, I know all of you are wondering about my backyard. You've heard of large lots? Well, we got the largest in the neighborhood. At least that's what I'm told. There's one other large lot in this neighborhood, but this is what we got. These are trees I planted to create a woodland. There's a couple limbs that fell. We had a storm last week, so I've got to pick up those limbs. A couple of big limbs that fell, actually. But this is our yard. And what do we do out here? Well, we play with the dog, mostly. I had 2 dogs most of the time I've lived here. So we play with dogs. We sit on the porch sometimes and watch. There's bats that come up. Watch the bats. We haven't done that in quite a while. We've been really, really busy. And we cook out, of course. That is our cooker. We smoke some meat. I know all of you know about barbecue. We do that. My husband's a chef. I'll talk about that in another video, but he's cooking for a wedding tonight. So we cook outside. I do a lot of that too. I know how to do it too. And just somewhat enjoy the backyard, playing with the dogs. I walk around. I want to do a lot back here and put some flowers and stuff, and we want to get a shed. But that's a dogwood tree in the back, typical southern tree. And then that's an elm. So, and those are oak trees over there. So that is our backyard. Let's talk about mailboxes. Yes, this is a mailbox. This is our mailbox. Quite a bit different from the others that I showed you around the neighborhood. Let me see if I can scoot over here and show you a standard one. Standard mailbox. And then our mailbox. Little story about that. Well, mailbox regulations, I know people in Britain are all about our mailboxes because you have them in the door. You have letterboxes. We do have some homes that have letterboxes on the wall beside the door. And there's even a few in the cities that have the door slot. But out here we have mailboxes. The Postal Service does regulate them to some degree. You have to have that size canister, and it has to be a certain distance from the road, and it has to be within a certain distance on your street in front of your house. You can't have one at the corner of your house, at the corner of the lot. You have to have it pretty much in the middle, and there's a specific interest, a specific distance there to have it. So why do we have this mailbox? Well, I'm going to show you. Our mailbox used to be here. Our mailbox used to be here, and if you notice, it is right across the street from a driveway. So it actually used to be here because it was right at the top of the screen. It was right across from the driveway. And what would happen is every time, and it wasn't this neighbor, it was another neighbor, but every time a neighbor would have a party, you can guess what happened. Somebody would back up, and Sunday morning we would have our mailbox flat on the ground, and we would have to repost it practically every Sunday during the summer. So I had a friend of mine, he was a brick mason, and I told our friend to make us a mailbox that if anyone backed into it, it would cause some serious damage. So he did this with spare bricks he had, and he did it for a bunch of apple pies, fried apple pies. He wanted a bunch of fried apple pies from some of his apples, so I made him fried apple pies. And we got this, we call it the Prowler because of the way the bottom ridges are. So that's a look of some of where I live. It's not the whole neighborhood, but it's part of it. And now you can see what living in America, at least in this part of the world, is like. It's so geographically different. It could be different. It's different from South Georgia. In fact, we call ourselves Northwest Georgia. Georgia, you live in North Georgia, Northwest Georgia, Southeast Georgia, South Georgia, Middle Georgia, which is Macon Perry, or Atlanta. So, or the coast. You live on coastal Georgia, which is around Savannah. But that's how we define Georgia. So we live in Northwest Georgia, and I will see you again next time. I'm going to go in and make some dinner. My husband's at work, so I am not going to cook. It's too hot for that. I think I'm going to make a peanut butter and banana sandwich. Talk to you later. Have a good day, everyone. Good night. Bye.